I arrived at the pitch today with the primary goal of improving upon my juggling skill set. I've been able to do a forward around the world and a reverse around the world for a couple years now, having played pretty regularly, but I feel like I haven't really taken the time to improve upon my juggling and been really stuck with the same sort of arsenal of skills that I have on display right now. And that was something I wanted to change today, so I set out with the goal of trying to do a double around the world, both with 2 in the same direction and 2 in opposite directions. And started off just by practicing on my single around the worlds, because again, I am just a little bit rusty right now in general when it comes to juggling. And to be quite honest, I felt like I was struggling at the beginning a little bit more than I would have expected to. I felt a little bit stiff. I didn't feel like I was quite connected to the ball when I would try, and so started to have a little bit of early frustrations while attempting this, and started to think, I can hardly do a single one and continue juggling afterwards. How am I going to land 2? But it was just something that came down to repetition and, refamiliarizing myself with the ball that allowed me to feel a lot more comfortable doing so, and like this could be something that was feasible for the day. At the same time, though, I did realize that I was seriously needing to stretch and to loosen up my legs, because whenever I would attempt a rotation, I just felt a slight tenseness in my groin area, and I think especially with having to get around the ball quickly twice as the main goal for the day, this was definitely something that was super necessary for me. I think having not played consistently in the past couple months, I have seriously taken for granted the importance of stretching and preparing for a session, whether it be a small-sided game, a full pitch game, or even just juggling. So I wanted to sort of, reconnect with myself and just feel more in tune with my movements and my body, and this really, really helped with that. When I think about my love for football and for not only watching but competing in the sport, I think I track it back to one specific memory that I have growing up. I recall playing in the street in my cul-de-sac with my dad one day and determining that I wanted to hit 10 keep-ups. I think I was about 8 or 9, because I had never done that before, and a couple members of my team at the time could do it. And so I decided that I wanted to give it a try. And what ensued was my dad sitting on the curb and watching me for the next hour, if not longer, just consistently attempting to hit 10 keep-ups and failing for most of the time until I eventually barely scraped by on the 10th one, and we went inside for the rest of the afternoon. And when I think about my relationship with not only football and sport, but just all of my hobbies at this point in my life, in comparison to that moment, I realize that I haven't really tested myself in a lot of my passions in more recent times. And I think that comes down to a couple different things. I think it comes down to the fact that work creates less time. When you have free time, you sometimes want to rest, and I just haven't been quite as motivated to really tackle the things that mean the most to me. One thing, though, that this afternoon reminded me was that it doesn't take much to get back in the swing of things, and if you are ever feeling sort of down or like you're in a rut when it comes to some of your hobbies or pastimes, that the only way to get past that is by just getting out there and trying whatever it is. And so I found, you could see right there, that just after a little bit of practice and a little bit of repetition, I but I could already feel myself getting closer and closer to achieving the goal that I set myself. And so, as we see here, I finally get one where I'm able to control the ball after the second rotation, although it does kind of bump my elbow when I was trying to control it after the fact. And so I did want to continue to try, but I could already feel myself just improving. And it felt really good. There we go. I got a pretty much perfect double around the world, and unfortunately messed up the second attempt right there, but was just feeling really empowered about my own ability and my persistence and the ability to just improve upon a skill set that I feel I've been sort of stagnant in over the past couple years. After a couple successful attempts, I did run into a couple roadblocks in terms of trying to be consistent with my practice of the double around the world, but it really is just a thing of the more times you practice it, the more times you're going to be successful with it. And I think right about it, this clip is once where I hit another successful one. There we go. And yeah, I think I was just down to trying as much as possible and staying positive and not allowing my previous failures to keep me from attempting to get the successful attempts. After a couple more of those solid double around the worlds, I did move on to trying with the second rotation being the reverse direction, and this one posed a different challenge to the previous one because your foot has to move even faster around the ball the second time around because it's moving further around and in the opposite direction. So once again, I did feel kind of like I was starting from scratch and struggling a lot to get this trick, but as you could see, it really did come down to the similar issue of just trying to control the ball on that second time around, and I did feel myself getting closer each time I tried. One feeling that I've had over the years is that when you see people posting on social media and on different platforms their own skills or abilities in different pastimes or in football specifically, I think it's easy to feel so far behind or so far removed that it doesn't even feel worth practicing anymore. And I know in my position, I've kind of found myself feeling, well, what's the point? I can only dedicate so much time to these moves and this pastime outside of work. Why am I even trying? But I think this afternoon reminded me that, there's always a point, and there we go. I was finally able to hit that reverse around the world. And I think that kind of goes exactly to my point, is that you're never too far removed from your hobby to give it another try. And just because you feel like you may be behind the place that other people are, doesn't mean that you yourself cannot continue on your journey. I think even when I'm not thinking about how I can improve myself and just thinking about how I can enjoy my life and my time, this afternoon was such a great time. The weather was beautiful outside. There was a little bit of a breeze, which did kind of mess with the ball a couple times when I was playing, but I just really was able to enjoy myself and found that being outside with the weather nice was such a great way to spend the afternoon for me. And I encourage all of you who may have been in a similar spot to me where you're feeling kind of in a rut to just maybe get outside and enjoy some sunlight and some refreshing outdoor time, just to kind of act as a bit of a reset, because I know that was so pivotal for me in feeling better to get this weekend kicked off. That was pretty much the end of my session day. I didn't do any shooting, didn't do anything like that. Really just went out with the goal of trying to practice a couple skill moves that I'd never tried before, or that I hadn't really been able to try in a couple years, really. And that was what I did, and that was where we ended off. And so I just want to say thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you enjoyed.